So you obviously your background is Jamaican though.
Yes.
Have you got the accent down pat?
Yeah, me not going to talk about the accents,
I just
Don't
wanted to
go
hear
there.
that. I just wanted
Okay,
to hear that on
okay.
the podcast just once.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
All right, guys, the coals are on. Welcome to the Sunday Smoke, the podcast about something. It's episode number 27 now, and we're here with the famous, TikTok famous, Theo Shakes. What's going on, brother?
What's How's it? Great to be
Oh,
here,
man.
boys. Great
How's
to
it
be
going,
here.
bro? It's good to have you on, man. And thank you for taking the
Yeah,
time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, coming from
definitely.
Wellington, New
Yeah,
Zealand.
especially with a
That's
bit of a
right.
time delay. It's been a bit tough for you
Mm,
guys to organize the perfect timing for this.
yeah.
So it's good we got
But
a.
we on now. We on now. It's easier than trying to negotiate things with England, though. Like I have to admit,
Oh,
that's
bro.
that's the worst. That is a nightmare. You can't get anything. America depends where, right? Because it's just a
Yeah.
day
Yeah,
behind. But Australia's fine. That's 2 hours. It's not too bad.
2 hours. It's easy
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
would
yeah.
be right now when we're recording. It'd be what 3:25 where you are now.
That's the one. Yeah, yeah,
That's the one, mate. I know my times.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
But Theo,
So
man,
close.
welcome to the podcast.
Yeah,
All
glad to
right,
be
thanks
here.
for coming on. We want to know everything about you, man. We want to leave the floor open to you as we start. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be where you are today.
Yo. All right. Well, I always find it fun because there's a million ways you can do this now. The more you tell your story, there's a million ways you could do it. But I guess it's always started with back in school, right? Being that kid who had the itch to perform and move. And I grew up in Auckland, so shout out Tamaki Makoto. But I was born in the UK, so I moved when I was 4. So I was this little British boy walking around school with a little bit of an accent and a
Yeah,
lisp, and not fucking realizing that I had a lisp until I was way older.
yeah.
Um,
I,
and yeah,
I was
go on.
gonna
What were
say
you gonna say?
I noticed that like when I first spoke to you, I'm like, is this guy
Interesting.
from
Yeah.
New
Okay.
Zealand?
Yeah.
You're roast-
Yeah.
Come on, bro. You're roasting, I guess, already.
It's not a roast. I'm just saying it's an observation.
Observational skills on point.
There you go on.
Yeah, but yeah. And then being in school and doing what I always did, I was kind of the kid that wanted to move around, move my body, move things, make jokes. Not necessarily a class clown, but if there was a moment where there was a stage or a performance, I'd do that. I'd stand there and do that. So it came to what, maybe 2013 when I first stumbled across my dad's like iPhone, and I started going, oh yo, you can shoot stuff on this, like this is kind of dope. But then he was busy, so it was up to me to film some stuff. So I had one of those Samsung Galaxy Ys, I think that's what, a young
Yeah, shout out to
um
Samsung.
Samsung, shout out. Terrible though, but it had a whole system where you could pause, play and stuff, and so that's how I used it to edit as well, like on the fly. um I had some great mates around me, a bunch of them, and that's basically where I like started building up the YouTube channel. So again, I was a YouTube kid, and once I got old enough, I got a proper camera, and you just kind of work your way up from there. So the
Yeah,
dream was always to be a filmmaker, like after seeing this one film called National Treasure, which is maybe corny, but like I really fuck with it, and it was this film about thriller spy kind of thing. And so I was like, that's the kind of films I want to make. But then as you get older, you start to see the whole genres, you start to see dramas, you start to see comedies, you start to see everything. And
yeah,
then you're like, okay, film could be a lot more. So yeah, my background has literally been film and then stage stuff, and in high school doing so much performing arts. And now I'm at a point in my life where I'm studying acting, and I'm out there still performing, because every now and then you get that moment of realization with your mates or something, and you're like just honestly, with where I am, I couldn't be doing anything else. Like if I have a chat with a mate who's
yeah,
like not in the arts, I'm like, bro, I don't get that. Yeah,
Boring.
that is not. Yeah, my mind is too far gone that way now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I won't combine things or integrate things.
Yeah.
It's just more like I could never sit in an office and do accounting. I don't
Yeah.
think I could do
I
that.
feel that. I feel that.
But that's
It's
most
not
kids
not
that do the
favorite.
arts.
People got to find their own way. Like, do you find like to at least a certain degree that you, when you study film, you have a more appreciation for filmmaking behind movies. You find like you're more attentive in terms of, you know, the different kinds of techniques and things that they use while they're making those films.
Definitely. You know, not necessarily film school. Like that wasn't. Okay. Well, for film school, because we did a lot of on set stuff, then it did make me start to think about the idea of when you watch a scene, what actually happens before action and what happens after cut, and the chaos around it. That I'll never forget now after studying film. But just generally, when I started really getting into film in like 2016 or stuff, and YouTubing, I'd YouTube every film that came out in the behind the scenes, and I'd just watch a little bit of the B-roll. That's what I'd Google, B-roll, and then I started to see the camera angles and the things they were doing, and then I could, from that point on, like at the end of 2016, every time I went to see a film, I pulled myself out because I was like, I know exactly what they're doing here. Yeah. I've seen that. Like film still challenged me, film still surprised me, film still moved me, but I couldn't shake it a lot of the time, especially in like action films. It's very repetitive, the cycle of shots they want to kind of pull off, and as long as you've seen like just the camera on its own outside of it, you're like, okay, I know how this works. But it can move you more. For example, studying acting, now that I know the shit behind what it takes to bring a character, what the stakes they have, what their scene intention is, it makes it a funner game. Because if I watch a TV show now, like I watched one the other day, a comedy series on Netflix called Crashing, and I was like, oh, these two characters, they're arguing and they're both lying, but they both secretly want the same thing, but they're both lying. So they're like, I don't want to kiss you. I'm not going to kiss you. Yeah, I wasn't going to do that. But you can feel the fucking tension. And as an actor now studying it, I know to a degree what they're playing, what's the underneath thing, the subtext. And I guess that's where it's exciting. Yeah. But you can be pulled out once you know the math and the algorithm behind these things.
Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting thought that you put into my head that I've actually never really thought about before, is when you're studying these things, does it in some way take away from a movie? Because you know, you're looking at it, it's like you're not kind of fooled by the tricks of the filmmaking. You know, it's like you understand what's going on. It's like watching a magician, but you know kind of the tricks that he's getting away with the magic trick. Is it kind of like that?
It is. It's like it's natural. So it's not natural magic. It's a type of magic. We were talking about this the other day, me and a friend, because right now we're touring a show around our city, and we're going to primary schools, and it's incredible because you get to see kids light up and their faces light up, and you don't realize if you go anywhere on a stage in front of kids, they see you as some kind of godlike thing, like something. You're this character that isn't really real. We know you're a human being, but you're an actor. That label of actor is so ingrained in every kid. I don't know why. So when you walk around, they go, oh my God, you're a god, right? So we kind of forget that as we're performing it, how much we could be inspiring them or how much we could be moving them. And then it comes to the end of it and they come up to you and they're buzzing and they're like, I want a high five. I want to know you. I want to know who you are, because that means so much to them. Now, the thing is, the magic has gone away for us because we physically can't have that natural essence or innocence, because we can't get that anymore. The kid gets that, like, you know, the behind the wings thing, like what really exists off the stage. The kid can dream about that. We know now. However, because we've studied this art form and we've stayed in it from child to adult, being the actor now, we can appreciate that magic like quite a lot. So that's like the added thing. I think there's a pro and a con, but I think maybe the
pro it's like, you know, it's like, knowledge is power, but ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And how do you feel when you're on stage and you're performing in front of these kids? Are you trying to inspire as best as you can?
Yeah, I feel like after the first show, we really realized that, like, because we're performing to different age groups, and when you perform to kids, you can see that, like, okay, they're not dumb, they're smart, or they're in tune to certain things. They're in tune to more how you move rather than what you say. And it's at that point where like, oh yeah, you can inspire them. And then that does work as a motivation. But then also I just say with the show we've got and the things we're doing, we've noticed the motive is almost to make them laugh, because that's like they want to laugh more than anything. They want to be entertained still. That's like the level of, I don't know, type of form of acting they're interested in, having a laugh, because that's what it is when you're young.
That's what kids do. I want to laugh.
Like, how can I be the funniest guy in the room? Yeah.
So class clowns.
Yeah. But not to underrate kids. Like, fuck, they've got great minds. They're good.
Man,
they're good.
Kids are smarter than us in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
100%.
That innocence like gives them some funky, honest answers. I mean, they'll say the most real shit. Like after the show, they'll say some stuff like "I da 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 da," or "You did this," like in that sassy voice. It's like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. What's the most woke thing that you've heard from a kid that's come up after a performance?
I don't know, man. But let's just say this. No. Okay, the most woke thing maybe, or the most like, whoa, you'd say that?
Yeah.
One kid came up and he's like, bro, I caught you in 4K because I know you're from TikTok. And he was just like a little, I don't know, 8-year-old or some shit. I'm like, how the fuck do you? Yeah, so that's been weird. Like after every show, having kids coming up and going, I've seen you on TikTok. And I'm like, how do you have the app? The phone thing must be so normal in primary school now. This is year fives really.
That's insane. And it's getting younger and younger, like people that are into film, and it's easier than ever to try to get into these kind of things with technology. So there's kids naturally younger and younger trying to get into it. TikTok and YouTube. Even I remember I was maybe like 11, 12 years old. Me and my best friend from primary school, we tried to do a skit on YouTube. That obviously didn't go anywhere, but like.
What were your like go-to creators when you were a kid, like on YouTube?
Oh man,
did you get your Australians like the
when I was a kid, I used to love Ryan Higa.
Yeah, Nigga Higa. Sure.
Oh, bro,
he was the go-to.
Him.
Yes,
I loved him so much.
It's funny. I was just looking at his channel literally a couple days ago, and he hasn't posted in 2 years, right?
Yeah,
and I'm just seeing it. I'm like. He was a part of our childhood, this guy. I do think he's very talented and very skilled, but he was one of the people that was really early to the game.
Yeah.
So he did well naturally because he was he was just someone who knew how to entertain on that thing, but he was right there at the beginning. But now he's a nobody in a way because he hasn't posted in 2 years. And as I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't relate to his content anymore. It changed, but it's kind of strange the journey you can go on with a creator like that.
Well, I think to a degree it might be hard for some creators to break out. It's kind of like that Disney actor syndrome where it's hard to break out of that spot. Where Ryan was so Nigga Higa was so like known for like entertainment, but for kids like. Your dad wasn't gonna, watch him and enjoy that,
Yeah.
So then, his following was coming to expect those kinds of things, and eventually he gets older. He's in his 30s. He's struggling with his mental health because he might want to take it somewhere else, but it's hard to break out of that.
Yeah, and then it was another thing too, like his whole crew, and this is what happens with those people who started YouTube early. They start getting late 20s, early 30s. They get partners, they get kids, and then. Yeah. They move houses, and that puzzled me as a kid. I'm like, wait, why would you move cities? Why would you go on and just stay on YouTube and do your thing in your room, never leave it? Yeah. And when they kept moving, it felt like a change for us. But as you've gotten older and you experience the real world, you're like, yeah, people are moving all the time. It's just these guys happen to be on camera, and you wanted them to be in their little spot the whole time. And it's interesting,
And I'm sure you can relate as well. Obviously you started at one place, and now as you're getting older, you're starting to get more busy. You're probably doing more gigs and more performances, and you just find that. Do you ever find that it's a bit too much sometimes, or does the passion drive you through every single time?
Yeah, it can definitely be a bit too much. But it really depends what. So making the TikToks has never felt, let's say, overwhelming because it's all in my hands, my control. The factors aren't enough piss me off. It's me that can go, yeah, all right. Whereas something like being at a drama school, that can be like, no, lost the inspiration, not keen to move today, not keen. I mean, we do voice class. Shout out people in voice class. We do voice class, and that's you know, an hour and a half thing, and there's a bunch of weird techniques. Half of the stuff to try and explain to someone who's not at acting school, it will just freak you out. But we'll do things like if there's that dot on the wall there, I don't know if you can see that, whatever that is. I have to target a vowel by facing this way, and it's over there. So just go and try and imagine I'm sending vibrations that way. Now there's a bunch of weird shit you have to do some days, and when you're on and you want to be like the best actor ever, you're like, yeah, this is dope. This is some like extreme shit, unnecessary extreme. And when you're not having a good day, you're like, this is some extreme unnecessary shit. So it's like it is a bit of like a balance, and that's why it's nice to have other creative outlets, because that shit can get a bit like fuck. But I think it's the hardest thing is like if you're trying to make a short film or you're trying to write your own work, that's where like inspiration I think can go the most. Because acting, performing, you get the juice of the audience. It can be a way quicker thing. It could be like posting a TikTok, bang, tomorrow the world can see it. Whereas writing something, creating a short film, you can doubt that process for 6 months and then cop out or make it. And then 6 months from when you started it, you're like, I'm not even interested in it. It's been so long. Or that was a huge thing when I made short films. Make it, pre-production, production, post-production. That took maybe 8 months. And then hide it in festivals, because festivals have rules. You can't show it publicly on YouTube or whatever until you finish the festival run. And you could be in festivals for a year. You may never win anything, but you could be in them for a year. So a year and a half later, or almost 2 years, you could be showing people, your friends, Instagram, public, and then you're like, I'm 2 years older now. I've got a whole different lens on how I could make a film. My skills are up. Everything's changed. So it's actually hard to like appreciate the work you've made, because you're like, I'm 2 years ahead of myself. That was 2 years ago, but it can't get there publicly. So the lag as a filmmaker is way harder. And that's why I think there's still a need to be able to create heaps and just throw shit out. Don't be too precious. That's
wow. Well, that must be frustrating. That's a very interesting point of view, because you're right. Like, you know, with anything, your skills develop over time. And then especially when you're creating something, I guess this could be true for pretty much anything, but you know, you'll start a project, you'll love it, and maybe you'll get 6 months, 12 months along and think, am I really feeling this now? Like, because I know I could be doing it a lot better if I started it now. Could I can the whole thing and start from scratch and it'll be better, but delay 12 months, you know, you're always kind of second guessing yourself. It could be better, it could be better, but you don't appreciate the journey that it took you. You had to do that to learn those things.
And that's why, like, I think as an artist or anyone who's wanting to be an artist, like, don't be precious with your ideas, because at the end of the day, even if you do have that 2 year lag, you're 2 years stronger for other shit. You can have a look at your work and be like, okay, I was weak here. And if you can see something critically in yourself, then that's probably a better thing, because we're too early. It's too early to be right. It's way too early. That's the thing too with film. You want to think you're there. You want to think, I've made the thing that could win the Oscar short film category. No, you fucking won't. Like, just relax, little guy, relax. Like, that's why, because you can dream so big with film. You can really dream big, but I mean, it's a weird thing. Storytelling through short films.
Yeah. What's your biggest dream in your adventures with film and videography, cinematography? What's your biggest dream? What's your ultimate goal?
Great question. You know what? I wouldn't say an Oscar anymore. Like that's kind of going, especially after the Will Smith thing. It's like, I don't want to be that guy. But seriously, I think making a short. I mean, do you know Taika Waititi? He's our director. He's doing Thor. He's doing Jojo Rabbit. He's an incredible director. He's someone that is literally a kid. They describe him as a kid. He's that playful, but he's very intelligent on the inside. I'd love a career like him. Someone who could be able to just have a bunch of fun, but like get away with it basically. And I don't know. I love Christopher Nolan's kind of work, so I'd love to one day
Inception
work
and
with
all that.
him. If we're talking in film, what would be a dream? To have this guy called Thomas Newman compose a film I made. That's something you dream about, I think, because when you love film score music, you're like, yeah, I need to hear that with something I made. So that's a
That's
weird dream
another
of mine.
thing, right?
Yeah.
People really underrate the film scores. They don't
Yeah.
think about that when you watch a movie, but it's so
Yeah.
important, and it's
It's
part of the
massive.
storytelling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's kind of been, that's how I get to sleep. Like I put film score music on. That's like the best thing for me.
And to a degree, do they
Just
kind of
random.
teach you that in film class as well? Like, you know, not
Listen to-
how to score, but how to like kind of fit your films in with
Um,
score or
Not my film school course was just a year. It's definitely not going to go into that much depth, but you'd go to like a sound school, or you'd do film composing as a course to find stuff out like that. But really, no. And I don't think a director, I mean, the truth is a director doesn't need to be too focused on film score. They need to be focused on sound, and they need to be focused on music and what they want. But as I've found it, the collaborative process with composing is not as close as it seems. It is sort of like, I mean, because that's the other thing too. As a director, you got to be careful. You need to be allowing space for these other creators and artists to do their thing.
yeah.
A director is not meant to necessarily say, I want this, that, and that. They just want to go, this is the story. How would you bring your sound? Because if you're a good enough composer, you're gonna give me something I cannot see.
Yeah.
And that's really hard, because most directors want to have it all sorted here. So that means that when they come in, they'll come in so strong and they'll cut people off with their ideas. But
Yeah.
then you, on the other hand, you could get a timid director who doesn't know anything that goes, just do whatever, which I think is lazy as well, because that means you don't know your vision. And so yeah, there has to be a nice merge and marry of it. But we didn't learn that. No, we didn't learn how to use film scores. No.
Yeah, and how important is it to have a good team around you? Because obviously, when you're making a film, there's so much that goes into it with the director, the camera work, you got the lighting, the audio guys, you got all these different factors that they all have their role. How important is it to have a team around you that just like, and a good director around you that will let people do their part of the craft?
Massive. That is the number one thing, really. Like, if you can't, for a medium like TikTok, it's fine. Every other medium pretty much has to be collaborative, right? So,
Yeah.
and actually, you know what? TikTok is collaborative because the audience, that's the final step in collaboration. So, but really, like, if you can't work with a team, you can't make great art. It is about all the elements coming together. It's just really hard to do because you got people and personalities and opinionated ones, especially when you're working with actors or writers. They're going to have like really strong views and really strong takes. And then you might be working with a sound operator who's dead quiet, but his strength is just being resilient and standing there and doing his job, but he may not give you any social interaction. But that's a form of collaboration that you have to understand, because you might be like, why is he being a dick and not speaking to me? Like, what? Because like, he's a techie guy, and those techie guys are just diligent at their job and they just do it. Whereas the actors want to be bubbly. But then, yeah, you can get personality clashes and stuff. But I think for filmmaking, like, one of the biggest things I found is you need to be spatially aware. Like, that's the big thing, because there's so many times where like you could be trying to micromanage a million things, and if someone was just more spatially aware, they'd see, oh, I know where to slide in so that I can grab this box and move it for you. It's those little niggly things where you're like trying to rush because it's all about time and it's all about getting the thing done. And if it is, then you need to have people there that are just awake. So many people sleep, and it's that thing of like, yo, bro, sorry, like, dude, yeah, you awake, because like we're not going to get anywhere. But because we're New Zealanders, because we're polite, we wouldn't say that anyway. We wouldn't be like, yo, bro, focus. We might do it in the most subtle way where it never comes across and nothing happens and never changes. So that's a big thing too. And that's something like we need to be aware of. I think if you enter spaces like America, they're going to speak to you with like honesty and truth and loudness in your face. And that's a lot of energy. And it's not necessarily like they're just cunts. It's like we're from another place. That's probably partly what it is. But
Understand the
yeah,
culture, understand how to, what it's like.
slip and slide through it. Yeah.
Everyone's got different cultures. Everyone comes from different walks of life, and I guess it's adaptability. That is the biggest thing, especially when you're in film. You're in obviously Wellington now. Who knows where the journey will take you? You might go and do a film in America. You might do one in Europe, in Jamaica.
Yeah, that'll be dope. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That'd be awesome. Invite me.
know.
I'll come. I'll be an extra.
As we can see on the
Pirates
screen,
of the Caribbean.
That's it. Jackson's taking a trip to Jamaica for this one.
Yes, sir. He's got the palms in the back.
So you obviously your background is Jamaican though.
Yes.
And have you got the accent down pat?
Me not going to talk about the accents,
I just wanted to hear that. I just wanted to hear that on
Okay.
the podcast just once.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a bit of it, but I'm telling you, I recently went over to the UK and saw family for a first time in a long time, and they're British people now, but they are Jamaican as well. But they have a thick accent, and just when you think you know it, you don't. Like you don't know patois. It's very. I couldn't understand my granddad. It was so beautifully textured and toned that I had no clue what he was saying, but I was just like, yeah, sure, yeah, just doing the head nod. Because there's a lot of slang there, where it's like pickney, and which I think means kid, and like that, you know how it is. It's like a kind of form of broken English. But then as I was listening to it, I heard a lot, and I'm like, this is some of the slang they use in like in African American culture, and I wonder if it's like come from Jamaica, like. A lot of like phrases like I'm finna go to the shops, like instead of gonna, right? I heard my granddad like quite casually saying things like, if you go, we take, if you know, and I was like, I don't feel like you got it from the African Americans. I think you got that shit from Jamaica. So has African American culture taken that shit? And I'm like, and there were a lot of words like that, and I'm like, damn, I think that might be the case, because you get your biggies and your people who have spread it out as well, because he was part Jamaican, who's probably spread out in the rap game. I don't know though. I'm curious to do a bit more digging about that. Yeah.
That's that is so interesting how slang develops over time, how it spreads. There's so many different ways that and sometimes you can't tell where it comes from. A lot of people will try to claim it, but at the end of the day, I think some people you just got to let it be and enjoy its progression over time. It's fun to know where it comes from though, and I think you always got to take the old heads, the old people.
Trust them.
If you got an old guy saying it,
exactly.
That's where it probably came from.
And that's the weird thing too, because it's like I wouldn't expect an adult to be saying I'm finna go do this. So it's probably actually come from somewhere, or it was their slang growing up, and it probably was. So, it can still be a young people phrase. Just old people aren't as old. Old people aren't as old as they seem. That's something I've really noticed lately.
Yeah.
They've lived a life. They've lived a big life. They've been places, and where
they were young once,
you just meet them as old. But they were young once, and then the older you get, the more you're an adult, the more they treat you like an adult as well. So then the truth can come out about certain topics, and you could be like, oh yeah, so you were cool or something, And I'm only like getting to that stage now where I'm really finding out like the level of history that lies within them, because they really were just us, obviously. But
and I feel like the more we go on, the more generations we get through, the more that we become like kids. Because I'm sure back in the day, everything was very formal, everything was very particular. But now, the new generations that are coming out, Jackson's generation and the generations that will go after him, especially with technology and everything, everyone will stay sort of younger for longer.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a food for thought.
I agree with that. Yeah, they could be stuck there forever. For too long, maybe.
You need that. I think we all need that. I think we all need to stay for as young as we can for as long as possible. I mean, Jackson's dad is, how old is he? 56, going on 18.
Man, no, my dad's been through about 5 midlife crisis in his time.
He's going for another one. He's going for another one as we speak. He actually popped
midway
his head
through.
around the corner. He actually popped his head around the corner just before. I was surprised he didn't jump on the camera.
Oh, he's been
Jump on
itching.
the mic,
He's been
yeah.
itching to get on the podcast. My dad.
Dude,
Bad.
bring him on. Need some
But,
fresh 18-year-olds.
I've
for
actually got one. I've actually got one more question about acting, filmmaking.
Yeah.
That I've actually been really itching to ask, because for you as an actor, right, and a filmmaker, a lot of people you might hear in social media and kind of young people that are your average Joe, right? Like, your average people on the street, they kind of slander actors and Hollywood people, saying that they don't work, like they don't do much, like, they got an easy life. Do you in some way take a bit of offense to that, because it's like they don't know kind of the work that goes into this? They don't know kind of how hard we got to work to, perfect what we're trying to do. Is that somewhat offensive to think that some people really feel like that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been in environments that are so artsy and creative. Even the city I'm in, it's pretty creative and progressive, I guess. So that argument hasn't come forth, or that point hasn't actually come forward in a while. But it's low tier. Like, it's low tier. It's to the point where it's like I think I'm in the complexities of what acting is, that if you were just to step back for a second and go like, could I do it as a career? You can joke about the seriousness of it as a career, or the fame of it and money is, and that sort of view on it so far from it now, because I think that's what partly the argument's about, the laziness of, if anyone can act, therefore anyone can be rich, anyone can be famous. But that's so far from what acting is. So I it doesn't offend me, because it's like, they're so low tier, bro. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Just it
Some
doesn't.
people
No, I
don't know
don't
what
care.
they're talking about.
But but it must depend on the environment you're in, because there's still cultures, there's still generational gaps with a lot of kids, and their parents will say these things like, no, that's not a feasible career at all. That's a joke. And so if I was in those environments, I might have a different answer. But because I was quite nurtured by a lot of people, and right now I'm in an environment where we all want it, because we understand the stakes of it. Because the reality is, I think the stats, something like Viola Davis was saying it. She's a famous actress. Like 1% of actors make over $50,000 a year, and 1% of actors can actually have a steady workflow of acting, and 0.1% actually have a highly successful career.
100%.
Where we see actors on film. So if that's the stat, the game is hard. Now, there's definitely luck in it,
100%.
for sure. But at that point, there has to be like an incredible, intense amount of hard work. So to act like it's nonchalant, or to even go off that argument, if you were to, you'd take it and you'd go, no, I'd have to work harder than the average Joe, because everything's working against you every
100%.
single day.
And you hear these stories about, like top A-list actors struggling to get some of these big time jobs as well. They're going to auditions. It's not like they don't audition for a role.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not like they
the
just
most
get a
precarious.
it's not like they just get a call up.
Yeah.
And say, I want you to act in this movie. We're going to give you, $10 million to act in this big time movie. They don't get a call up. They got to audition just like everyone else.
Unless you're going into unless it's Adam Sandler and he gets like Kevin James and Chris Rock and all these buddies.
Adam Sandler can do whatever he wants.
Right. Yeah, Adam Sandler's the guy.
But no, it is precarious as fuck, because there's no telling what tomorrow is, sort of thing. Like that's what every actor's worrying about, especially on the high end. Imposter syndrome. They feel like they don't belong, even if they're going up for the award. They're like, I faked it. I couldn't have, that character, everything I acted in, I know it's not me, and it was me trying to be some. Even though they might have done everything right, they still doubt themselves, sort of thing. And so there's like the anxiousness of tomorrow, I won't be it. And that still happens on the high end. And then on the low end where we are, it's like, well, I kind of accept that, like, I'm still at the beginning. So there's a million ways to fuck things up and be rejected and do that. But it's going to happen. Like it's going to happen. And there's no comfortability. There's no knowing when you can't be like, okay, I got that one, I'm set. Like we've heard so many cool stories at school where people almost ruined their career. There was this one great story. I'll tell it real quick, actually. And it was this guy he'd gotten the role for a part, and the title of the show was something like Mysterious Island, and he's like, it looks like a lame role, but he was literally given the lead character, and he's like, I've made it in a point in my career where I'm pretty cool, but I don't care. So he acted a bit nonchalant about the role. He needed to show up for shooting the next day, but he went hard out partying. He missed his call time, which is your time to show up to work. If you miss that, you're already a mess. Your professionalism's off point. So he missed it, and then they said, well, look, we have to fire you, man. Sorry, you didn't show up. You're our leading man. You think you're too cool for this. And then that was a pilot episode. Have you ever heard of pilots?
Oh, yeah, the first episode.
Yeah,
where they
the first episode,
and...
but it's often in the industry, they trial it. So they do shoot the one, and then if it gets picked up by network, they shoot the season. So it was one of those episodes. So he dropped the ball, he got fired, and then they picked up the show and went on to make it without him, and it was Lost, one of the biggest TV shows in history.
No.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, dude, you got a bit too comfortable. You went, I'll have a good night. I'll show up late the next day, and you lose it. So there's like no, especially with like big time. And that's like my favorite show. So when I heard that, I'm like, oh gosh. And this was an Aussie guy, because they were shooting it near there, or it's partly based. The show's based around Sydney and stuff. But yeah, it's, I mean, you can never know as well before you get a film and you get the script. You can never know if it's going to be a great thing, right? You have to guess that. But then that means if you do have to guess it, don't bring your ego too high. Like, this piece won't do shit, because if you do that and then you wake up tomorrow, someone else gets it, boom. So like, but you don't know. I think the higher we get as far as actors go, the more skilled they get. So nowhere near where I am, but on that high end, they can pick up a script and go, okay, I have to work double time for this one because it's trash. I got to fill in the gaps. Whereas this one's gold. I haven't seen enough. I haven't read enough. I don't know. But that doesn't mean you turn down either or, because there's still that luck of like, this one's got a lot of work to do, but if I bring it, it could be genius. And that's,
who knows?
That's hard to know.
You could be the difference between it being good and being bad. You just
exactly, and that is the case probably. For a lot.
I think with a lot of like productions and film, a lot of people also fall in love with characters too. So that's a big factor as well.
Yeah,
your character, who you bring along, the personalities you bring with that.
And you know what's trippy about that? Going back to the guy that missed out on being the lead in Lost.
Yeah.
Perhaps, and I'm not saying this would have happened, but maybe if he was the lead role, maybe Lost wouldn't have been as successful because he wouldn't have been as relatable as a character.
Yeah, exactly.
The fans might not have attached
There's that
themselves
ripple
to
effect.
him. Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know.
And that's the thing. Yeah, he may not have been committed, or he would have showed up and gone, "Yeah, this is the shit. I'm on now. Oh, oops, I misguessed." It's the most epic show in history, but no, you missed it. Yeah.
Going back to that guy, maybe he's learned his lesson, and maybe that was what he needed.
Did.
To progress.
No, and there's a great story about it, because my drama teacher ended up doing a show with him years later. That's why he asked, "How did you end up being?" Because they were on this kids show together. Just doing some kind of robot thing, just seemed like very amateur work for maybe well-trained actors. And he said, but how did you end up here? What happened, man? And he's like, well, that Lost story was a pivotal point in his career. But when he showed up that day to shoot this kids show with him, he was on. He was the most physically built. He was the most attentive to his lines. He was re-looking through his work. He was so on point. He was an hour early. And he was like, but how are you like this? Why would you be on a kid's show? You deserve better. And he's like, because I learned my lesson and I'll never drop the ball again. And there's still a hope that he'll get picked up. But he'll take that. That's valuable enough. My professional practice, whether it's the most high-end script like Lost or it's some kids TV show, I put in the same amount of work and I push for it because it could be anything. Yeah. So he's gone on to learn his lesson, so it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
Wow.
Good on him, man. What's his name?
Yeah. I can't remember. He's an Australian guy though.
Yeah. Well, wherever he is, mate, if you're watching the podcast, good luck, bro. We wish you all the best.
Yeah. But shout out Vaughn Slynn, my drama teacher, because he's got those great stories, those industry stories. So, yeah.
And I'm sure you'd have like a lot of good teachers that you've had over the years that have taught you just so much. And,
definitely. It's always the ones from high school as well.
Yeah.
Those ones you never forget, eh?
Are there any teachers that resonate with you more than others? Like one that has just been like, whoa, I've
Yeah.
learned so
Oh,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately you say that and it has to pop in my head because, yeah, definitely. In the last year, so she's left now. She was at our drama school. Shout out Heather Timms. And she went on, to do her thing. So it's great. But she'd been at that school for a good 10 years and put in so much work, flipped it around. And then she was the kind of person you'd show up. And she had those sayings like, sit up on your sit bone, which is, that the spine bottom, because that's an actor who's alive. That's an actor who's always going to be ready. There's little things like this. If you're slouched over, bro, you're not ready. If you're folded your arms, you're not open to us. Like we want your energy. We want, so it is. Yeah, it is. And then there were just many moments which she taught you and inspiring days which she'd work you on the floor. No, I don't believe you, sort of shit. Like, all right.
Like the drill sergeant.
Yeah, the drill sergeant. She was never too rough though. That's the thing though. One of those teachers where when I first saw her, I was like, you're scary. You're one of the scary ones. And then she met you and she'd give you hugs and the kind of love and just hold you for longer and you'd be like, oh shit, I was ready to let go now, but you really care. And that's what she said when she left. She looked at each one of these students in the eyes and she said, look, I'm going now, but you guys matter. Like we need art more than any point in history. We need it right now, sort of thing. The stakes sound high when a drama teacher's handing over that baton. They're saying like, you need to tell these stories. You need to act as vessels. We need your faces as well. And the model she changed from the school allowed for a lot more brown kids to come in, a lot more people of color, a lot more of what New Zealand really looks like. So she's basically saying like, if your faces ain't there, there's nothing going down. So go do it. And respects to her, man. Yeah, she does have, she's just had one of those profound effects in such a short period of time as well. Those teachers will, forever live on in my mind. They fuel me.
And just before we move on to the TikTok part of your career,
that's right.
Almost forgot about
that. I've got one more question. What's the most valuable lesson that you've learned over the years in film, and whether it's through your teachers or whether stuff that you've learned on set? What's the most valuable lesson that you've been taught through the years?
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to pin it down to one. One thing came in my mind. This was something my dad said to me, and this is for every kid who wants to work hard enough. Eventually, in a career like filmmaking, people will just fizzle out. People will just leave, and only those who care enough will be the ones remaining. And so, I think of that. I mean, that's still early to put in practice because I don't want to fizzle out yet. But it's that thing of if you stay there, if you stay in the game for long enough, they'll see you, and everyone will go. There's so many people that do it and leave. Like that percentage I was saying, you only 1% earned 50K. That's partly because a lot had to go and do other things, and they're forced to a lot of the time. But people go, nah, this is where I give it up. So I guess staying there, staying in the game, not giving up on it is like a classic. But yes, that. And then I think in the last year and a bit, I've learned valuable things about family and your roots and a place to stand. Making sure when you go into work, if you can ground yourself beforehand, then you're going to be way stronger because, when you're out there on your own, especially as an artist, you're basically, your own business half of the time. You're your own boss. You've got to make sure you're on. You got to make sure you're okay. You're going into new places, different cultures. So knowing who you are and trying to pull that out is huge. And I think that reminds you where you come from because you can draw a bunch of strength from that. Like that's fact. That where I get the most chills is thinking about ancestral shit. Where I get the most chills is when a song plays and it sounds like, oh, that was some black people walking through some bush. Like that's the song or something. I mean, there was we're learning a song at the moment for school, like Asim Bonanga, which is a South African song, which was played when Nelson Mandela walked out. And there's a tether. I'm not South African, but there's a tether when I hear a story like that because I'm like, this was a man who was in prison for 27 years and he gets out and he walks these streets and you can just imagine all these African face that's just with smiles on their face. And seriously, like a bunch of people, their lives changed because of this man. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's music and walking slowly to music down a street, but like there's something moving about that. Really, people coming together. That moment where there's something bigger. There's something bigger going on, and that's what I think like great work is, when you feel like, oh, there's something bigger going on here, like something huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, and it's hard to know, like when you're in that moment. So it's hearing those sounds, or having something to kind of like pull you back into that moment to help you understand it. Music, just like making as an art, it tugs on parts of you that sometimes you don't realize are there. It makes you feel things that you might not otherwise feel.
Definitely.
It's just like that. It's just like that scene from Shawshank Redemption. We love the Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
When he plays the opera over the PA speaker, and it just takes people to another level. They're free for that moment. They're not physically free, but mentally they're free. So
there's something powerful about that. That whole film is incredible. Like
I actually literally watched that 2 nights ago. I think I've seen it maybe.
That's if you ask me what's my favorite ending in a film, it's that one for sure. I've watched that scene on loop, the last scene, way too much. Like it's just perfect. I don't know, and it wasn't planned as well. It wasn't meant to end that way as well. I think that film, they were meant to not meet up. At the end, and then they did.
And what's
Spoiler
your
alert.
bit late.
Yeah.
But sorry. Again, before we move on to TikTok, I just thought of another question. What's your favorite movie? Was it Inception?
I think if we're talking right now, where I am realistically, it is Inception. For sure. It wasn't always. But yeah.
What is it about it?
It's the perfect movie, like sort of thing. Like it's so layered. I could watch it. I've watched it well over like 15 times now. Shit's still coming up. New things still coming up. Beautiful cast, beautiful score, beautiful cinematography, beautiful CGI. It's aged well. The story itself is like, it's just genius. Like, let's go deeper and deeper into dreams that we all know and we all have. And then let's do 3 tiers of that. Like, I don't know. It's just like the perfect heist film, because that's what it is. And he talks about, I mean, stream espionage, right? But he talks about how he wrote it, and each character represents a film, what a film is. So like you've got, I think Leo's character was the director, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the producer, Tom Hardy was the actor, Saito, the Japanese guy, was the production company. So it's actually all modeled in a genius way. Like the script writing's modeled in a way so that if they were heist members, it would be like a film crew. It's dope. I just love that the film's so well structured. That's what it is. It's rewatchable too. It's just rewatchable.
And now going from film and all things cinematography and everything, now you obviously have a big TikTok presence.
Yes, sir.
How many followers are you up to now?
I think 260 something, 260K something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
260.
So obviously there's no guesswork involved in why you would start TikTok. It's obviously so accessible, so I wouldn't say easy to do, but it's just, as you said, with like time frame and all that, you can just think of an idea.
There's a lot more control that you can just
you
can have it. You can have control over time frame, control over quality, control over when you feel like doing it. Like there's so many ways you can control something like that.
Now I listened to you when you were on the is it Sid Licious? Sid Discussions. When you were on his podcast and you were discussing your TikTok, and just for our viewers, how do you find the inspiration to come up with the content that you do? Because it's so relatable. It's so relatable in every shape and way.
It really is just me holding up like a mirror and shooting it back. Like basically, like what I'm seeing is what I'm making is what I've seen every day. These characters are a little bit exaggerated, but honestly, people I've seen, and that's what I've mainly been trying to do, not make it a complete hyperbolic sort of thing. like just making up a random character. Like, no, it kind of does start with someone in everyday life. And half of the time it's like that memory unlock thing. Like, how can I find a scenario where we've all experienced, but you'd never talk about it with your mate about, like, it's funny, we both, because it's too mundane. It's only if you put it in a format like TikTok where you go, yeah, that's that's kind of works. Because why would you go to your mate and be like, oh, isn't it funny how there's always that one teenage kid who works in a, like, for his parents' stall at a market? You wouldn't say that. That's not funny.
No, you
like,
just see
it's better. Yeah, it's better to put it in a app like this where people understand the rhythm, people understand what POV means.
Yeah.
Even if they don't, because the word's just there. And then, I don't know, just like admitting what we all do there. And it's so, a lot of ones that have worked, especially this year and the last 4 months, have been social anxiety sort of moments, or things we don't all admit we do, where it's like, I used to do that, but I'd never admit that. Or like what was one recently that I got, that me and my best mate, we went to high school together. We still go to drama school together, which is an incredible journey in itself. And I made one about the principal. When you're imagining you potentially getting the award, like, I might be getting this one, but I'm not. And we were never really, really smart kids, but we were good at the arts and shit. But we didn't win like awards or anything. So when he saw that video, he went, dude, that's what I did at like every assembly. I'm like, dude, same. And we were sitting next to each other. So we were both little cocky cunts in our head thinking we were always going to win. But you'd never fucking say that to your mates. So that was kind of funny, like revealing the social, like, anxious. Oh, shit, I might get this one. How am I going to walk through all those people if I win the award? No, I'm not. What a fucking
It's funny.
loser.
I heard someone say the other day, most people, everyone's different, but most people are the same in a lot of ways. You know, there's such a common experience between everyone, like that a lot of people just won't admit. People are very similar.
And that's the key. That's the key fucking, like, we're talking KFC chicken, that's the spice that no one talks about. Universality, specificity is universality. That's what I've learned. Because you can make such niche content. And if you're posting on an app like TikTok where it can go literally out to the world, there's pockets, thousands, maybe millions of people that can relate to that. Like, your street won't relate to it, but that street there combined 1,000 streets, bruh. You know, like, there's so many people that are going to relate to something specific. So
I know. And one of my favorite one of your TikToks was definitely when you run into one of your dad's old friends that you haven't seen. I love that one, man. There's that one, and there's the one when
I live that reality on a daily basis.
I was gonna do it the other way as well. I was gonna do another version, like when you see your mate's dad. What was it? When you see your mate's dad?
When you see your dad's mate, I believe
when
it
you
was.
See
when
your
you see your dad's
mate.
mate that you haven't seen for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, how you been? How's your dad? The really small talk that you don't want to be there, but you're sort of obligated in the conversation.
Yeah.
So relatable. Like, honestly, that's the best. And another one, definitely.
Oosh.
Oh no, where's Jackson?
Slingshot out of there.
He's still on? No. Well, I can just edit. I can just edit this in post.
Anyway. Yeah.
I'll wait for Jackson to come back up.
I'm back.
Find it all out. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
All right, we got Jackson back. Had some technical difficulties, but anyway, there was one more TikTok that I wanted to bring up, and that's when you're on the train and you're falling asleep, and it was just there was no words, nothing. You were just there like that, and the way your head was bobbling and everything. It's like so many people have probably been in that situation, and then just when you see it, you're just like, oh man, that's so true. And I feel like that's the big. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say that one's interesting because you're right. We literally are staring that one in the eye every day, and so that I don't think I've seen. I mean, I try to make stuff I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie. Probably some of the content I've done exists out there by chance, by odds, by the fact that we're all kind of watching each other's stuff without noticing as well. But when I think of an idea, I go, I haven't seen it before, to my knowledge. But with one like that, I could only have come up with it because I went to the UK and started going on the tube for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't really go on there are trains in New Zealand, but I don't go on them, and they're not like the underground where you'd
They're
have
not all
naps.
that.
You could just get on and off, right?
Yeah.
So in London though, it was so fascinating. Like so many people were sleeping, and I was like, this. By the fourth day, I'm like, okay, this is a TikTok. This is a thing that people
Yeah.
do, and they just wake up. So that's the thing, eh? Like you need to be able to see the world, and you need to be able to look at the most mundane or ordinary things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's just
Yeah.
content. The world is literally content. The world is your
Yeah.
oyster.
It's giving us
Literally.
everything. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't have done it for like 11 months. Like this is a joke. It should have stopped by now. But the point is, there's still like half of it. Good ideas come from an object. So there's so many times where I've just stared at like a beer and gone, okay, who have I seen hold a beer? Oh yeah, uncles hold a beer. Oh yeah, mate. Oh, put a little bit of. I mean, the Aussies, like you guys love your drinking. There's a whole, there's a whole drinking culture. That's a character. I immediately see an Aussie character or something if I see a beer or something, anything, any object. So it's like you can start building through physical things, through spaces, and then the camera angles, like the golden piece as well. Never forget that, like. Yeah, I'd sell this stuff on a masterclass if I could. There's so many little tips and tricks. I'm not gonna lie to the TikTok game, but it's partly because you do it enough. You do it for long enough, and then you start to see, this is what works. This is what doesn't. So like anything.
And I wanted to relate this back to the podcast. I had a good question for you because obviously we've been doing this podcast for about 6 months now. It's going well. We're having fun with it. Now, when you were on SIT discussions, you discussed taking yourself out of the sort of the TikTok role. So when you're out and about, trying to disconnect yourself from thinking of content creation and things to think about. Because I know for myself, and I can't speak, I'm sure Jackson's the same. When we think of ideas for the podcast, we're out in the world, we're walking, we're like, oh, what can we come up for the podcast? How do you go about sort of disconnecting yourself from TikTok and being like just enjoying life and just being one with life as opposed to being one with your content creation?
Well, I think for something like TikTok that is pretty much almost daily, I've kind of made it a daily thing. Maybe not recently though, but pretty much if I have the time, it's daily. So therefore it doesn't disappear every day, which sucks. like maybe it sucks. However, the thing is, if something's special enough somewhere else, and there was something that happened like last night at one point when I went out with someone, I'm like, this is special enough that I'm so present in it. I can't possibly think of the TikToks like that. So that's like the advantage. Whereas if I'm in creative spaces or spaces where I'm bored, that's where I think of it. And maybe that's a negative because it's like, you need to focus in the room, like stop daydreaming. But it's like, that's where I'm going to do it because I'm like, I know this is like where my mind goes searching and gets hungry. So, but it is, I do think you'd have to balance it. And I think if something got too intense or it's a monster you can't control, you wouldn't want that. This is in my control because it's just me filming it. But if it was something else, which I had multiple people attached to and they were relying on me, if you have that weight of the ideas and trying to, like YouTube, trying to turn over content every week, they've always talked about the struggle of that. And they always say, hey guys, we're posting every Tuesday and Thursday. And then they come back a week. Hey guys, we're posting every second Tuesday because they've pushed themselves. And then,
I
don't know if you've seen the guy on YouTube, Don Mazzetti. What's his?
He does fitness. He does.
What's his? Yeah, no, but what's his actual YouTube channel called? Bro Science. Bro Science Live.
No,
it's just like lifting, right? But it's about like weightlifting in the gym, but it's like comedy as well, and he does like different types of people. But people used to love his content, so they wanted him to, post all the time. But he was so like inconsistent with it. So at the end of all his videos, he'd just be like, new videos every so often.
Yeah.
You can never tell when the content comes. Sometimes it's about it coming natural, and you can never tell when it hits you. But it just
That's like YouTubers eventually. These days are like they have the trailer. This next week, let's go see the trailer, and then they'll have a card going. There's no trailer this week because like they really haven't got it organized lately. Like that's Beta Squad or something. Oh, they're busy, but that's the thing too. So like if you look at TikTok, you can do it once a day. If you start doing it once a day, you can, and it's that easy. And if it goes well, it can happen every day. Good content, good content, good content. The second you take a day off, you're like, oh yeah, that's what a day is. And then
Yeah.
you get to 2 days later, and you're like, that was the quickest 2 days ever. And if I miss something for 4 days, I'm like, really? I haven't posted in 4 days. That was so quick. It was like I just posted, yes. And then I tell myself, so what? Do I have to post again tomorrow? And oh my God, the expectation is every day now because I know I can hit that.
Yeah.
But the time goes so quick. So that's why I wonder with now that I'm feeling it, I wonder with those YouTubers, like if they go missing for a week, that week feels like the quickest week to them because they're like, really? I'm already due another video?
Yeah.
They have to be on that momentum thing. Because if you're on the momentum of every day and you stick to that consistently, then it would just feel like it would just feel steady. The second you break that cycle, and they talk about this, the second you break and pull it out and just have a couple of days off, that lag. And then in a space like YouTube, I think the algorithm messes with you if you don't be consistent.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is on TikTok, but so creators are worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's true with everything in life, really. Breaking the cycle, the worst thing you can do. That's true. I mean, we're talking about, the gym, working out. Same thing for working out. Same thing for work. So, like taking a holiday. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and she goes to me, "It's hard taking a holiday from work because then you come back from your holiday. It's like you need another little break to go back.
To
work.
The transition
You're not
period.
ready.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's insane,
Yeah.
honestly.
But do you find yourself now, because you've done how many TikToks do you think you've done up until this point?
Oh gosh, yeah, great question. Maybe
Rough estimate.
rough estimate 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously that's like 200 videos that you've done, which are independent of each other, different ideas, different creations. Do you find yourself now maybe going through, like, I guess you can call it, what is it, creator's block or something? Or like
Writer's block. Yeah. Definitely more than, but it's always been up and down. Like I don't struggle to find ideas, but what I do feel like I'm struggling with is like good ones because I think of like glory days, you tend to like do it really quickly to yourself. Go, that was like my peak time.
Yeah.
Or I remember that phase, and you start to really dream and miss it. And there was like first phase when I was on the app, I had the whole manager character and restaurant manager character, and those were quite specific and I don't know, they were just well known as well. Like they had catchphrases like Becky, which was like the employee, Becky, hurry up, get on the machine, you lazy. So like I started to really build something there, and then I know you can't stay on it forever because people get bored of it. So I left it, but now I'm at a place where I'm like trying to find that thing I want to build again, because I'm doing so many different things, and there's a reason for that. I don't want to be the same guy. I don't want to be a one-trick pony. But I start to go, damn, I miss the glory days. I miss where I had like, where it felt really, where I laughed when I came up with the idea. Sometimes I don't do that anymore. I go, yeah, that's relatable. That'll work. But back in the day, I used to go, oh shit, that is, that would make me laugh. Yeah, that's good. And I know that might seem like pretentious or whatever, but something that made me laugh back then was, way strong. It used to happen more. So I don't know. You can get numb to the world you're creating, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because because obviously you're excited. It's like anything in life.
Yeah.
When you start something, that's when you're the most excited. And then as you go on and you start to get better and better at it, the expectation then becomes higher. And then for you, because that expectation is so high, not just with the quality that you're creating, but getting it in the quantity that you want, you might just think, you might be sitting one night and you're just like thinking of ideas for videos, just like, oh, yep, that's a good one. As you said before, that's a good one. That's a good one. Start ticking the boxes and just getting yourself ready to record them, as opposed to actually putting yourself into it and having a laugh, and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well, like I guess you want to keep familiar with what the style you're doing and the things you're doing. You don't want to completely throw it away as well. So that's the other thing too. It gets repetitive, but you want to stay familiar to your style and the thing you're bringing, like your spice, your passion. Because if you drop that, I think it will lose something quite important. But in saying that too, like, it's got to be for you as well. It can't just be for the world, because like recently, I've like some videos haven't been doing so well, and then when I'm going to make them, am I trying to go to make them so this one will blow up, or am I trying to go to make it back to that thing of this is a creative outlet, this is because I enjoy it, this is because I want to do what I want to do, I'm doing my style, I'm doing my thing, you know, because then either way I have fun. I just have to hit post, but either way I had fun.
Yeah.
The second you get caught up in the added advantage of what you get from it, and you can get caught up in that. I mean, the perks that come from it, they're incredible. It's like, wait, that many people saw my shit? Like, that's crazy. No creator can deny the view thing. Like, we can try and sit here and go, like, I don't care about the views.
Nah,
Yeah,
it's
maybe
it's
not. My ego doesn't too much, but fuck yeah,
Sometimes
I care about it a little.
Sometimes
Yeah,
do you
like,
so every now and again, do you catch yourself being like a fan of yourself? Every now and again, like you scroll through your own stuff.
I scroll through my own stuff, yeah. And that's something I do just generally. Maybe it's because I'm an actor or some shit, but I really want to like check how I look.
Yeah.
I say that with a grain of salt because I'm not too worried about like actually how I look physically. Of course, I will judge myself like any human being does. But what I mean is I'm checking how I look accent wise. I'm checking how I look performance wise, character wise, because sometimes I have a moment where I'm like, yeah, this is the craft's gone, because that's one of the main things I'm focused on that app. How can I still put craft in it, which is accent, which is voice, which is body? How can I make sure those things are strong? And you can tell when you're getting lazy, so that's why I do watch my stuff back. But also, I'm not a fan of myself, but I'm a fan of my characters, like, for sure. Right. Like, I'm like, that was dope, bro. You're clever for that one, bro. I like that, because I don't think I'm as clever anymore. So I'm like, whoever came up with that moment, that was a great phase.
That guy, he's smart.
Yeah, he's smart.
I like that guy. I like that guy. Should be a comedian.
Yeah.
But no, you do have to, when you're, especially in the world of content creation, you do have to watch your work back, because you have to know ways to improve. I know for this podcast, like, we'll record it. I'm the one that does the editing for the stuff that goes up on YouTube. So I watch it through, and then I edit it, then I watch it again, then I render it, then I see how it looks like after it's rendered. So I've watched I'll watch an episode 6-7 times, then I'll watch it on YouTube when it's uploaded, then I'll listen to it on Spotify, and I'll see how the audio sounds compared to YouTube. So it's just watching it over and over again, but not to listen to the sound of my own voice. You know, a lot of us, you know, we hate the sound of our own voices, but it's just to see where we can improve. And things to look out for. Like, if you go on our podcast and you watch our like first videos, fuck me dead, I was loud. Jesus Christ, it was annoying. Like I was giving myself a headache from how loud I was. You know. And then that's it. Building from there. It's like, okay, talk a bit softer. You know, which I've worked on. And you know, Jackson. Try to look a bit more lively sometimes. So working that, because sometimes he looks a bit stoned on the podcast. He looks a bit
okay. Yeah.
But you know, just working on small things to just build your product, and the same goes for you. That's why you watch it, I'm assuming, so that way you can build better quality content for your audience.
Definitely. But also, what is interesting about it, especially TikTok, because it's your face, or the stuff I'm doing, it's my face. And a part of my voice, you know, maybe not my natural accent, never is, but it's my voice still. And it's like, you got to be careful. You can get like caught up in your own like delusional world of like who you think you are. Like, I know this seems like very like trippy, but like, I mean, it is like, sometimes I'll watch the stuff and go, who really am I? Like, as a performer, as how I look. This is, and I've decided to, you know, I really accepted it, because most people aren't doing TikTok because they're not brave enough to be seen doing something quirky and then walk outside and hope that no one goes, you did something weird in your bedroom today, bro. I saw you on TikTok. Like, but once you've earned the status, like, no one judges you negatively for it. It's more like, oh shit, you're that guy. But the point is, like, most people don't want to get past that stage of like seeing their face and their body in so many different ways on a camera. Whereas I've gotten numb to it, but then now I'm back to the point where I could look at it again quite deeply and get confused. Like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay. I've done it so many ways now, but I'm like, whoa, is that really how I look when I do it? Like, it's just that surreal thing, because you don't, every day you're living, you don't actually look at yourself, do you? People look at you, so the opportunity to stare back at it is quite confronting, I guess.
Yeah. Not many people get that opportunity to really take a look at themselves like that. It's like,
No.
wow, is that what people see
Yeah.
me like?
Yeah. Really, most people don't. It's actually, like not being the center of your world, just understanding there's people out there doing their things, and half of them ain't even on some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
Do you get recognised a lot down in Wellington? Like when you're walking down the street, like I'm assuming you would.
Yeah.
And how does that feel when someone comes up to you and be like, because you touched on
Yeah.
it earlier in the podcast with the primary school students, but what about just the
Yeah.
general public? How does that feel when you get noticed and people are like, oh, you're Theo Shakes?
Yeah. Okay, well, quickly on the primary school kids, that night I got home and had like 6 DMs in the request bin, like, can you follow me back? Oh my gosh, you're at my primary. And at that point, it gets a bit tricky because it's like, you are valuing the follow, you're valuing the idea that I'm someone important, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no actual transaction. I don't get anything, you don't get anything, really. So they're kids too. They're just kids. So of course they're obsessed with that. So I gave one of them a follow as a joke, and I said, "Go flex on your friends," and then that's what brought them all. So that was maybe silly, but it's also hard to say no. It's really hard to say no to a kid.
Yeah,
going,
that's true.
Like, because they're going, like, surely you read my message. Surely, like, you give me a moment. You're not too cool for me. You're not this guy that just doesn't have.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
they
yeah,
make you
I've
feel
got the
bad about
time.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So
it's like-
I've got the time, but I've also, let's do something nice. Like, how about just ask me my day and I asked you my day,
Yeah.
rather than like it become like, so just follow me and that's that.
It's
'Cause
like
that's-
it's like a high school or something. You buy something from the canteen. You give one person, a hot chip to share, and now all of a sudden everyone wants a hot chip, and you're not
Open
left
the
with
gum
anything.
packet out.
You can't give everyone
Yeah.
a follow, like, or
the
you
old-
can't respond to every message. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, but that's fine. So that was just kind of over social media, so it's really not that bad. But in person, yeah, that happens a lot in Wellington, where I live, and just walking down the street doing general things like my shopping or going to my mate's flat, and just that being recognized. But last night was a great example of where I think I didn't like it, and this has happened twice now, so this is definitely the second time where I'm like, too much, because I went out, and then we decided to go clubbing. And I don't really go clubbing much. Like, I kind of got over it's partly an age thing, also a music taste thing. Like, D&B is big in the clubs
Age
now, and
thing.
I'm not a fan of D&B.
You're only 20 years old, but
No, I know, I agree. But the thing is, how it works here, you turn 18, you go, and then after that first year, you kind of start doing, you either go to bars, or in New Zealand at least, or like if there's a party scene, I prefer the party scene, like house parties. So, but anyway,
I feel the same.
I'm
way.
not too, but it depends. There's still people like my age, 20, it's still young, I agree. But went out, decided to go out clubbing, and just like, it got a lot last night. Like, in one way it's cool and exciting, and another way it's like, what the fuck? Like, guys, chill, relax, And I'm not big enough. Israel Adesanya, Starbender, talks about this. He's big enough to be able to say no, and it's still hard for him to say no. I'm not. They'll go, who do you think you fucking are, mate? All right, you're maybe not that famous, but they want a photo, so they want that. And hanging out with my other mates, and it's kind of tricky because it's like, they have to stop for me to take the photo. They have to stop for me to chat with them. They have to stop for another photo. They have to stop, and they're standing there, and then they're like, can I get a photo with you, bro? And so I'm like, hang on, I'm with my mate. Why get a photo with him? He's just as cool. And then they're like, no, don't, no. And I'm like, whoa, well, if you're going to have this attitude now, like, how does this work? That transactional thing. So and that's the perfect like moment where people will be the most aggressive and the most loose, because they're drinking and they're already whack and crazy. But like, it's the added thing of, if you're like semi-famous or a public figure, you walking around in that space, you're going to get eyes, you're going to get cameras, you're going to get hugs, you're going to, like, constantly that whole night, not one place. Every minute I was stopping. So that's when I'm like, okay, realistically, because I don't care about clubbing too much. Say I did, I'd go, bro, this has ruined my clubbing night completely. Like, this, you couldn't club in peace. And then when you walk in a club, you're like, well, I can walk in like myself, who's kind of growing up, growing more confidence, just generally being a teenage boy, or you can go in with the fact that, like, I've got this TikTok thing, I could walk a bit cool and people will buy it. And that's like a fuck thing to start having in your ego. Like, technically you can be king for a minute. Like you
You
can
really could.
because someone
There's
just
a lot
came
of
up to
power
you
there.
and took.
In the
Yeah,
club
there's a
scene,
lot of
there's
power.
a lot of power there.
Yeah,
with, you know, that
yeah.
kind of influence.
And that's the thing. And the guy came around like, here, drink for you, mate. Here, all yours. You know. And it's like
You can
you
start
can,
taking advantage of that
you
easily.
you can.
Yeah.
But I know in my nature, it's like I'm not like that guy. But I'm also like, let's put the TikTok aside. I'm still kind of a guy that wants to have a good time. I'm a guy that wants to have confidence. So that's naturally there as well as having this fame thing. So how much is it my ego now because of the
Yeah.
fame, and how much is it just my ego as normal Theo, like trying to be somebody anyway?
Well,
So
that's the
like
other
that's
thing.
kind
Like,
of hard to. Mm.
no,
Yeah,
no,
go
no,
on.
and that's also tough. Like, because you know you might get like to a degree judged a lot for changing your. You know, people change over time, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you develop
yeah,
new
yeah.
personality traits. Someone might develop more confidence. You know, like any average person on the street could change their confidence over a year and start walking
Yes.
differently, start talking differently,
Yeah.
and they're not going to hear nothing for it. But once you start getting a
Yeah.
bit of a following, you start talk differently,
Yeah.
talking differently. People are going to be
Yeah.
like, this guy's got an ego now.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
of his following. No, this guy
Yeah.
might have just changed. He
Yeah.
goes through life. He experienced the same 12 months that just passed, just like
Mm.
anyone else did.
Yeah. And that's
he might have
exactly
just
what
changed.
it is. Yeah.
But
And that's what I was thinking.
and
yeah.
it's hard to like convince people that it's not because you think you're better. It's just, hey, like I'm a different person to what I was 12 months ago.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like you could be also the ordinary guy. You could try and play that card if you're in a club. Like, I'll just be really ordinary. I'll just be really basic. Then people could potentially judge again. Like, damn, he looks boring. Like, what a fucking loser.
Yeah.
I thought you'd be the most hype king ever. So you can like because I'm in the public eye, you can make such quick judgments. If I saw, let's say, LeBron James, if I saw him in a club and he was like kind of like just quiet and low key and not acting king, I'd go, oh, he's a bit of a loser. Maybe I'd start having these. Poor
LeBron.
No, bless his heart. I wouldn't do it that quick. But I'd be like, damn, I thought you'd be like hype. I thought you'd be up. I thought you'd be having fun. So we're already like told they need to be like as lively as they seem. And then if they are, we could go, whoa, you're acting like big guy, big man. All right. So it's like,
Big man.
maybe you can't win. But most people are like too drunk to notice. It's quick moments. And it's nice. There's always perks to it, like having good chats with people, connecting up.
Yeah.
Just trying to humanize the situation, because really I'm just a student like all of them. I'm really the same. So yeah, but last night it was a bit much. It was like, damn, yeah, that's like getting stopped. Wait, and it's fucking weird, dude. Like I'm just me now in a room. There's nothing special here right now. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no, that was some good insight into behind Theo's case, because obviously we see Theo on camera as a character. Now it's good to see the man behind the scenes. But
The B-roll.
That's the B roll.
The B-roll, exactly.
All right, look, moving on. We have a few segments that we bring on this podcast, and one of the segments we call is grinds my gears. Things that just make our blood boil to the core. What's something that grinds your gears in relation to TikTok filmmaking, or just in general in life? We'll throw it out in the open for you.
I kind of said it before, but spatial awareness, like that's one of my like petty things. Like if you can't, like if you just bump someone, like, well, how could you not have seen me? You just use that 360 peripheral, just turn and look. But it happens so much. Spatial awareness, in my opinion, is both physical and like verbal or mental, because like there's like reading the room is what we call it as actors, being able to understand when you're saying too much or saying too little, or saying the wrong thing, or saying maybe the right thing, or the more right, more wrong. But yeah, and so in social settings, I see it as a big thing. And I just think a type of spatial awareness is like matching someone's energy. Like if they come up to you like, yo, what's up, bro? How are you? Being like, yo, what's up, man? I'm good. Instead of, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm all right. No point in going down there. What's the point in that? Like, bring it up. That's something I have a pet peeve for.
Yeah.
Because it means you're ready for me. I came with you with 110. Why wouldn't you meet me at 110? If you come at 50, I'll go, all right, meet you at 50. I might give you 60 just because it's in my nature to be louder because it's boring. But then you
I
can
like that.
push up to 60 with me and we can climb, So anyway, that's my thing. Yeah.
So you can be a bit louder.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But then,
Um,
then if the space is too loud, I go quiet. I'm
Yeah.
like that. I play opposite. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to
Yeah.
stand out in some way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, Before we wrap this one up, open-ended question: where does Theo Shakes see himself? 10 years from now.
Yeah, 10 years from now. I would hope that I've seen the world a lot more. After just coming back from Europe, I realized uh, the world is big. And New Zealand, we are a little island country way away from everywhere. And that's beautiful in one sense, and it's terrible in another because our closest holiday destination is Sydney, and that's still like 3 hours. So like, why is that a thing? I need to see the world, sort of thing. And to be able to be in places like Europe or Americas where you can fly a couple of minutes over, or less than an hour or an hour, and be in another culture with different people, different language, different climates. That I just want to experience that. So I hope in 10 years I will have seen the world, because in order to make, let's say, great art, you need to see the world. You need to be an observer and then a thief, right? You need to be able to pick it out and watch quietly. And so I want to be sitting in cafes in Paris and listening in on people's conversations, sitting in restaurants in New Orleans or something, and just being like, that's how they fucking eat their toast? Like, what the fuck? You go, all right, yo, fair enough. Shit like that, really. So yeah, in 10 years, at that point, having seen a lot, because if all of that's granted, then I can maybe go on to do things like make a feature film, which is what I dream of. Being able to act in things, and things that I won't know yet, things that I won't know will exist. They haven't been written. In 10 years, there's the parts I'm going to play, the parts I'm going to audition for are probably being developed now. And so I'm so curious to find out what those are anyway. But like a dream role, like I think I said on the other podcast, is like Bob Marley biopic. So, and I'll get too old if it's 15 years. So maybe in the next 10 years, a Bob Marley biopic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mad.
Yeah. That would be dope. That would be
Love
dope.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, we wish you all the best in any endeavors that you do take. Obviously you're doing well for yourself now, and I'm looking forward to seeing the progression. I love character development. I love all that stuff, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love
Life's,
to see how you're gonna.
life's a movie, man. Play the character of
Yeah.
yourself.
Life is a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. You're the main character right now.
Yeah.
Everyone
That's
is
it.
in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Jackson, are we living in a simulation? Remember that one?
Yeah. Great
That was
question.
old. That was an old
We could go
question
on.
from
Yeah.
one of our.
Yeah. I remember
But,
watching that. Yeah. The Elon Musk theory.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I love it. But you know what? I want to do a quick shout out to Theo, man, and the reason I want to do a shout out to Theo is because when we were talking on Instagram, sent back and forth audio messages, one thing that you did say was, obviously because you have a big following, for you to come onto a podcast like ours, where we're just starting, we don't have a big following like yourself. You said that yeah, absolutely. I want to bring you guys up, as best as I can, and I feel like that's a loss. That's a loss for them now. I feel like you hit a certain number in your followers list or whatever, and then you sort of just fall off, and you're like, I'm too good for these people. So for you to come on a podcast that's small like ours, that shows the kind of gentleman that you are. We really do appreciate
Big
it. Taking the time.
appreciation.
Thank you.
Taking
Yeah,
the
well, I
time
think
on that.
partly it comes down to luck, and it comes down to maybe my nature, but it also came down to things for the world to learn. Have a look at Sam and Jackson and see that what you guys did came in professional. It's the way you email. It's the way you show that you're willing to still learn. It's the way you're willing to admit, yeah, we had it shitty before and we're going better now. It's willing to just be honest with what you're trying to make, because you're not at the stage of perfection, right? That's me going, yeah, I want to sit down with these guys. And you just seem like you could chat well. So
Yeah, we want.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, that's all the podcast is, right? It's having a good conversation. It's about learning things. I mean, I know that I've learned so much more than an hour and 31 minutes ago. I'm an hour and 31 minutes smarter now about the film industry, about your life, about again, it's all about perspective. Everything's about perspective, and you learn different perspectives, talking to different people in different situations from their perspective, you know, and that's probably, for me, is the best part about this podcast, right? And it's the best part about meeting people in general, even outside of the podcast, you know. It's about learning every day, and there's always something to build.
Oh, damn. Cutting out a little bit. Oh. I can't hear you guys. Yeah, frozen. Ooh. No, it was such a good moment as well. What the fuck?
Cut out.
Do. All right.
Ah, see, now we're back.
Yeah.
You're still frozen on my screen. Shit.
Clutching, yeah.
All right. All right, everyone, we're back. There's been a bit of a technical difficulty here. Sam, he's become the weak link, and he's had a few problems with his camera and mic. So he won't be joining us for the outro of this podcast. But just wanted to, he'll just watch from the background. I just wanted to thank you so much, Theo, for coming on this afternoon. We learned so much with you today. You're such a nice guy. It was great having a chat with you. I really appreciate it for everything that you've done.
Yeah, thanks Sam and Jackson for bringing me on, and letting me have this platform to be able to share and connect up, and really that's it. That's all we're doing. We're connecting and sharing stories. So it's a blessing to be able to do that. Thank you very much.
100%. We look forward to possibly chatting with you in the future.
Definitely.
You know,
when it's in real life, I'm gonna be up in Sydney in real life with some shisha. Yeah, it's on. On.
You know what we'll do? We'll bring the shishas to KFC. All right. And just that's a triple collaboration. Besides that, if you could plug yourself, tag yourself, so people can find you.
Look, if you want to follow me on TikTok, Theo Shakes, and from there you'll find everything else. Because it's a chain of stuff. So you'll see me, you'll see my work. Thank you.
Definitely give Theo a follow for sure. His content's amazing.
Wow.
All right. And with that being said, Theo, what time is it?
It's time to take the coals off, baby. You already know.
Love it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sunday Smoke podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe.
And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any audio podcast streaming service, please leave us a review. Also, be sure to follow and contact us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram at The Sunday Smoke, and you can catch us on TikTok at The Sunday Smoke Clips.
If those aren't your style and want to keep it old school, hit up our email, thesundaysmoke@gmail.com. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of The Sunday Smoke. And with that said, what's the time for, Jackson?
It's time to take the coals off.
Beautiful.